The Holy Gospel according to St. Luke, the 13th chapter. At that very hour, some Pharisees came and said to Jesus, "Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you." Jesus said to them, "Go and tell that fox for me, listen, I'm casting out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow, and on the third day I finish my work. Yet today, tomorrow, and the next day I must be on my way, because it's impossible for a prophet to be killed outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often I've desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. You were not willing. See, your house is left to you. And I tell you, you will not see me until the time comes when you say, 'Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord.'" The gospel of the Lord. All right. Well, good morning. Good to see everybody here. You guys can take a seat. It's great to be here. Thanks for the nice welcome, Nick. It's always fun to come out, and I feel like I'm in so many different churches sometimes. I come back in, and I haven't been in St. Mark's for a while. I thought the sanctuary was smaller. I am actually a betting man. I would have laid money that your sanctuary was smaller, and it just felt sort of massive today, and it sort of captured me. And even Kara felt a little emotional coming in, just sitting today, like something kind of grabbed us in the space. And so I think that you can call, we're believers, so we can call that the Holy Spirit. And I don't know what that was about today, but something about the space sort of opened up my heart a little bit. And I thanked Nick just a few days ago for this text. Unfortunately, almost like about 1,700 years ago, the church fathers, we didn't allow the women to do any work that day. They did all the work, but we called them the church fathers. It was a terrible boys' club at the time. And they put together this thing called the lectionary. And it's really pretty same today that we have today, that we've been using for all these centuries. And these texts were sort of assigned to be repeated, right? And this text today, I talked to Nick a few weeks ago, and he just said, "Do you want to use the gospel text in the lecture, or you want to do something different?" I said, "No, I'll just, I'm a gamer. I'll take the text." And then I saw this text. I was like, bleh. There's some scriptures that don't fire me up, and this is one of them. And because if you were to read before and after, you'll see that it comes in this place in the scriptures where Jesus is just a little frustrated. He's heading to the cross. He's facing his death, and he's kind of mad. He's mad at people's behavior. I think he's frustrated with the leadership, and he's not in a good place, really. And so he's mad at Herod. Herod gets his anger here, and the Pharisees are looking for a fight, and it's just all a hard thing. And I'm a gamer, but I'm also telling you, I'm also a quitter. And so I'm not going to drill way down into this thing because there's so much there to really drill down. I just think it would take too much time. But there's two things that happen today. Number one, you could just go home and read that Psalm 91, and you'd be good. You'd be golden with what's going on in the world right now. This place is Psalm 91. But Jesus says in this text this great thing. He's got things to do, and he can't be bothered by Herod, who's a Jew, but he's also appointed Roman ruler. Can't be bothered by the Pharisees. He's got things to do, and this is what he says he's doing. He says, "Just go tell the leaders who are concerned about my behavior, I'm casting out demons and healing people today and tomorrow. I'll finish it up on the third day." Now that is obviously, we know the story. On the third day, Jesus raised from the dead. It's pointing towards his resurrection, and that's why it's tied in together with Lent and yada, yada, yada. But what I think he's up to here is Jesus is saying clearly, listen, I can't be bothered by things going on sometimes because I've got my calling to live out. I got my work to do. My work to do. I ain't looking for a fight. I'm going to be casting out demons. That's my business. I'm going to be doing healing. That's my business. I'm going to be doing some death and resurrection stuff. That's my business. And friends, here's the deal. I think it's been my experience in life that so often we get caught up in other people's business. Not their personal business, but thinking the other people should do our calling, our lives, right? What's important to me should be important to somebody else, right? And sometimes we lose track of what the Lord is calling us to do. Hammering and drilling down, being the best you can be with your calling in your place for your particular time. And we get frustrated when other people are not doing the job that we think they should be doing, right? We experience that in so many things, right? In so many things. Turn on the TV, read the paper, watch. Probably just, if you were active at church today, you probably got irritated by a church member who wasn't getting after it. Were you not? Don't show hands. Just point. They're sitting on the other side, right? You know, like we get irritated right there, right? Nick and I were on a phone call with clergy, and I'm about to blow my head off every time I'm on there with my fellow clergy. I'm like, what? Like, don't get focused on that. Do this. Like, you know, my own colleagues I'm judging. Right? Most days, Kara does everything I want correctly. But some days she doesn't. Right? If I get unfocused, I'm going to lose track of my call. And that's all that Jesus is doing here. He's saying, listen, you go tell Herod he'd do his deal. I got to do mine. And friends, I think we are so much more successful when we drill down on our mission and our calling without being focused and ramped up about how other people are not doing what we want them to do. And we can go after the evils in the world, and we can go after all of the things that we think damage. But ultimately, the way we change the world is by our own behavior. Not screaming at the world around us. There's times for screaming, there is. But most of the impact comes when we press in to who we're called to be and change what we can touch around us. There's great words from Paul in Philippians. He starts off, he says, "Be imitators of me." Imitators of me. Now that stresses people out sometimes, right? We don't want to tell people like, hey, just do what I do. Well, what Paul is saying, he's like, if that's Martin Luther had this great thing. He got irritated that people called him can I yammer a little bit more? Martin Luther didn't like when people called themselves Lutherans. But ultimately what he said was, hey, if you do what I do, if you believe like I do, fine. He gave up. He said, feel free. Because what he thought he was doing was worth imitating. And that's what Paul is saying here. He's saying it's worth imitating me if I'm doing the things that look like they're worth imitating. Now, not everything each of us do is worth imitating. I got whole behaviors you don't want to imitate, all right? Whole behaviors probably in my life that are not worth imitating. But I got a lot worth imitating. I'm like a rock star at one or two things in my life, right? And if you think about what you're up to in the world, think about what you're doing that's worth imitating. And how might you lift that up into the world to bring others along with you in your mission? In your mission. A lot of folks think, well, I just kind of do that silently. I don't want to make a big deal about it. I'm telling you, light a firecracker in the world for the things that you're doing well, that other people can come along with you and see what you're doing. Let me give you a little story, all right? I'm all about recent stories. I hate stories that say I taught Sunday school 30 years ago. No one cares, all right? Drill down on what God's up to in the moment, okay? I was super successful in middle school. All right? That was so long ago. Nobody cares about my glory at Steamboat Springs Middle School, okay? What are we up to today? What are we up to today? What are you up to today? What are you up to today? Jesus doesn't say, hey, do you remember that time when I was a baby and the angels came? Like he's let all that go. He's saying today and tomorrow, this is what I'm up to. Paul says, be an imitator to me today of what I am up to. So I got this guy in my life that is a socialist. I'm going to use another word that might frighten some of you. I think he's actually a communist. Yeah, you heard about that stuff? He's actually a communist. Now, what's crazy about that is there's some other things going on in the world right now that are terrifying. Terrifying. But I got this friend of mine that's a hardcore socialist. And I've learned so much from him in the past 3 years. I love brushing my life up against him because he's always challenging me in simple, beautiful ways. He's an artist about live the life that I say I'm called to live to. And he often does it through art. And what I love about him is that I hate him, because he's always sort of calling me to task about live the life. And he says things about homelessness and peace and justice and poverty that sort of pushes me to think, oh, what am I doing in the world that might be damaging? And he's never called me out. He just says, hey, tell me more about that. And when he says it, he means, why don't you stand up for yourself if you believe that, you know? And here's the thing. Nick brushed up against this guy. He probably didn't even know it a few weeks ago. And this friend of mine yesterday, he comes and we did a Holy Kicks event yesterday at a place called Mikasa Resource Center. It's on the other side of town. They support women experiencing all kinds of economic struggles. They build them up to teach them literally how to be more economically successful. The resources they offer are not just things, but actually transformation. Isn't that beautiful? They're transforming these women to be killers in their business world. And these moms came with their kids. It was mostly moms yesterday and their children, and we provided just a ton of shoes. I haven't counted my clips yet today, but well over 100 pairs of shoes yesterday. And I had a variety of Holy Kicks teamers that showed up, including a couple of my street buddies who couldn't rouse themselves yesterday morning that I was irritated about. But everybody came from a far place of town, but my friend who showed up yesterday, my socialist friend, he rode his bike from his house to get to the resource center. Turns out it was in his neighborhood. And he rolls in, and something I didn't know about him, turns out he's a Spanish speaker. You know why he learned Spanish? So he could communicate better with his community. He put it upon himself. Turns out, not only is he really good at giving shoes out, but this is what he's good at. He spent more time on his knees yesterday than anyone else on our team. Now, a lot of my team gets lazy, and they do this sometimes. But my buddy, whose name has to be Nick, not this Nick, but all the cool guys are named Nick, all right? NIC. He's down on his knees. And I'm telling you, I'm watching him the whole time. The whole time. Because I don't always understand his politics. I'm pretty left-wingy, but I don't think I'm a socialist. And I don't think I'm a communist. Because I don't even know if those things are right or wrong. But I'm watching him yesterday. And what I see is his justice coming through his life on his knees. And another little thing that he did, I'm talking to a friend of mine, I said, hey, my buddy Nick's an artist. And I said, you know, he's always passing his art out for free. And she goes, oh, well, like, what do you do? And he wears a man purse, because that's what communists do, right? And he takes out these cool stickers that he has, and they're edgy. And he gives one to me to give to Kara that says, all power to all people. All power to all people. And I took one that was a little more edgier, for sure. And what he tells my friend is, he says, this is what I think is gospel. He says, you know, all I do is I just try to spread positivity. Spread positivity, I just do it through art. Now, he can't do everything, but he knows what he can do. So he gets out his pencil and his pen, and every day he creates a little art to pass on to the world. And the reason why I'm telling you that story is you might not be great at healing and casting out demons, and you might actually be terrible at it, right? You might not be able to fix this insanity that's going on in the world right now. I mean, we're not sure what to do, right? You might not even know how to fix what's going on with your neighbor. Fix boys that are shooting each other in Aurora. Feed every person that's on the street right here in Del Mar Circle. But the Lord has given you a gift, a passion, a power that can transform the world through who you are. Who you are. Not from what you once did, but what from you're doing today. And it may be just as small as, a needy guy like me coming in and say, hey, give me some shoes. Give me some shoes. I'll take them from you, right? And I'm going to bring them to simple places where women that have been pushed up against the world due to God knows what their stories are. Raising children. Coming alongside a powerful resource center like Mikasa, where the governor went on Friday. Holy Kicks is so powerful, we now follow after the governor. I think it's the funniest thing in the world. And there's just such power in saying, what can I do? 2 of your members came to me this week. One just said, hey, what do you need right now? Another one says, hey, Tyg, I don't go to church anymore. I'm way too old for that nonsense, And I can't get around like I used to. Just says, hey, I'm just sending you a check. I said, well, you can give online. She said, I ain't doing no computer, boy. I'm going to write you a check like people do. She said, just take that. I said, hey, for every $20, I can buy a pair of shoes. She said, I'm going to give you 300. Like, that's 15. Now, you don't have to do everything, but you can do something. And I'm not saying it's me. Pick your poison, pick your purpose, and just drill down into what the Lord has called you. There's impact. And I want to tell you just a little quick little thing. And I mentioned this the last time you were here, and I'm going to just remind you again. Because a couple of years ago, when I just had vision and I didn't have skill set, I didn't really know what I was out there doing, places like Mikasa would have never touched me. I wasn't good enough to follow in the footsteps of the governor. Right? This week, the city of Aurora is shelling out Holy Kicks $5,000 just to support us a little bit, to come alongside Aurora PD, the most hated police department in America, come alongside them and support kids in our community. Like, we've gotten to that place, reputation and purpose, people seeing us and trying to imitate us, what we're doing, a nonprofit that works on the same side of the table. And one of the reasons why that happens is there's some first in Holy Kick's life. And the church that is the first for saying you're worth it, and we're not going to just give you a few pairs of kicks, we've done that, but we're going to give you, I think, about 113. And I'm going to tell you another thing. I've been to plenty of churches, and they put the shoes up here, and they don't want to make it too big of a deal. But your church said, no, we're just taking up the whole altar rail. We're taking up the sacredest space because we think people are worth it. How might you invest your life in seeing a little bit of glimmer of hope today, tomorrow, knowing that there's a third day coming, a resurrection day that's going to turn the world upside down. I want to thank you for coming along my side. And I can bring crack addicts with me to change the world. Prostitutes and drunks. Who organization says we think you're worth it. Because you guys invested in my little dumb organization that's become a thing. What might the Lord be calling you today in your life that's worth imitating? Because I got to tell you, friends, as a body, St. Mark's, worth imitating.